Wife went out partying without me, even when I told her not to go. Later, I found out she cheated. Unfortunately, I have stumbled upon this forum, and I'm looking for some support. If you'd be so kind, a bit of background at 30 me, and my wife 25F. We've been married 3 years, and together for nearly 6 total. No children, no real assets whatsoever. More debt than there is. Cash in our checking, we rent a house, and I'm the primary breadwinner, bringing home roughly 4K a month, and she nets around 1.5K. I work my CR app off to provide her with the life she's accustomed to, and now facing the unthinkable, my work family is pretty tight-knit. A co-worker of nearly 3 years invited me to join in a recreational soccer league, which I've played in for 2 years now. My wife would attend every soccer game of mine, which I thought was a show of support for me. But in the back of my mind, I thought she just went for the alcohol that went hand in. And with it most nights. I had games. I would take it very light on the alcohol. But she as a spectator would get pretty loose during the games, and ride home with me pretty frequently after the games. A few of the guys and girls would get together at different places to hang out into the night. A few of the times we all came back to my place, or we'd go to a bar, pizza joint, etc. Well, a couple of weeks ago, a group of them were going to get together at one of the guys' houses, a city away from me. I told them all after the game that I apologized. We wouldn't be going. I'd work early the next morning well on the ride home. She texted one of the guys I considered as being a buddy, asking him to give her a ride over there. She asked me if it was okay for her to go while I was driving home, and I said no. I have work in the morning, and I want to be with you tonight. She gave me the angry alcoholic silent treatment, and upon arriving home, I pulled in the drive and a car pulled up in front of the house. It was my buddy. She had made the executive decision to go to this party, and I was pissed. I went to my buddy's car and told him, I'm not okay with this, and to leave. But then my wife got out of my car and into his. They drove away in my rage. I plugged in the dead iPad I had bought for her some years earlier. It was old, but I knew it was connected to her messaging, so media accounts. I saw exactly where she was, and tried staying up until I finally fell asleep that night, around 3 a.m., and she still wasn't home. When I woke the next morning, she was in our bed. I didn't know when she had came home. I got up, got ready for work, and left that morning without waking her or kissing her goodbye. The first and only time that had ever happened. I wanted her to know I was pissed well before I left for work. I grabbed the iPad and threw it in my briefcase. I got to work that day, and after a meeting and a few phone calls, I pull out the iPad and see it light up with a notification from a messaging app. Buddy is typing. I open the app and see a horrific exchange of messages that are supposed to self-destruct. But this app version must have been outdated, as I was able to witness in real time their conversation, recanting the night before, where Buddy is making references to them, making love, and other guys that had fun last night. I damn near lost it. But then, it got worse. I watch as my wife instructs Buddy to send her a video of him crapping off, which he obliged to do. And I unfortunately witnessed. I ran out of my office and into the bathroom and vomited profusely. I was shaking from what I just witnessed and got permission to leave work for the day after taking several hours to chill the hell out. I was legitimately afraid I was going to hurt someone or myself. I drive home and find her still sleeping on the bed. I put my stuff down and asked her to come downstairs. I sat across from her and asked her to tell me in detail everything that happened last night, which she did, but admitted any sort of SEAL situations, just drinking, playing pool and talking. That was it. I then asked her when she spoke with Buddy last. She said she had messaged him back and forth a bit that morning, but nothing in particular. Then I dropped the bomb. Would your story change if you knew I watched the entire conversation you had with him this morning? She blew up into tears, and first thing out of her mouth was, "Are you leaving me?" She came clean and told me that she couldn't really remember that clearly, but she had segs with Buddy and another teammate last night, and that's all she could remember. It may have been with Moport. Words of wisdom are very much appreciated. I feel like an idiot writing this all out and seeing it so clearly. But it's not easy to just stop caring about the person you were completely and fully blindsided by. Please take it easy on me. Update 1. Update. I truly appreciate all of the advice, concern and positivity that you all have sent my way. I realize that it's been almost a month since I posted about my experience, and I've had many people reach out to me, kindly checking in and wanting to know how the details. But most of it are out on the table. The therapist turns his head to me after hearing it all and asks me, "How does that make you feel about your trust in her? How does it make you feel about your marriage?" I just shook my head in disbelief and shock, and instead of answering his question, I replied, "If I don't say it out loud right now, I'm afraid I never will. There's no coming back from this for me. This marriage is over. The vows were broken, my trust is shattered, and I have to keep things amicable right now." Let's fast forward roughly a week and a half by now. We've both had at least one individual therapy session each, and her narrative to her entire family is that we're ending the marriage because of the breaking of vows, but we're both trying to heal ourselves right now. She's still staying with family, and I continue my obsession with constantly searching her digital presence for any sign that she was continuing her disgusting habits, as many of you had suggested. She bibbing ready to end it. I picked up my phone and tried to call my mum. No answer. My dad. No answer. My sister. She answered. I told her what I had just discovered through violent outbursts of tears, and she could tell I was on the verge of losing it. She didn't know I had the pills in my hand, but she did insist keeping me on the phone, albeit in the middle of the night until I had calmed down. It took about an hour, but I was finally numb again, and after hanging up the phone I went back into the bathroom. What to do? It wasn't until she lost her temper and started yelling at me for acting weird that I gave her a chance and asked her, point blank, "Have you had any contact with Buddy whatsoever?" Since that night, her response, "No." I blocked him on everything. I asked again, "Are you sure about that?" She adamantly proclaimed that she hadn't, and that he was gross, and she would never do that to me. She could never do that to me. Then I dropped the bomb. "So, what about this app? And what about this video?" I took on every single one of them. What hurts me the most right now is the injustice of it all. She gets to be around people, her family, and act like everything is on the up and up every day, and run off each night to have sex with him, then sneak home in the middle of the night to keep up appearances all the while I go to work each day. Head home to an empty, mentally haunting house and experience how it truly feels to be alone in every sense of the word. I'm past the feelings of ever considering self-harm. But why? And what I didn't say in that post was that I had already filed my papers with the county to start the divorce process. I followed the advice of many of the kind redditors who suggested that I give her back the iPad and sever any ties to devices, SL accounts that would allow me to obsess over what, where, SL, who she was doing. I knew enough. I knew what I wanted out my approach to the divorce process. May have hurt me more emotionally in the long run, but didn't hit my pocketbook with nearly as much the relationship complete lie. But in all of our discussions, I made it clear that in my mind, this marriage was over. The vows had been broken. And if we truly wanted to start again, we would need to start fresh. We would need to mutually end this marriage and then begin dating one another. Again, courting and finding our way into a new, stronger relationship. I'm literally about to gag typing all of this out. I still can't believe she bought this. In fact, I was going to go out of my way to our actual assistance in doing so, having her removed from the lease and even got all of her possessions moved out of our house into a storage unit. Because after this was all said and done, I convinced her that we would get a new place together, and having her stuff out of the house would make the house feel a lot less haunting to me as I heal lying to her, and keeping her in this state of submission and cooperation made all of the difficult separation tasks insanely easy, and she thought she was doing I asked, but eventually became public. I had blocked both of them on all social media, but through various friends of ours, information trickled in. Questions arose and more people started contacting me, wanting to know what was going on. Apparently my wife was getting bolder and posting status updates and pictures of the two together. If someone reached out to me and asked, I would tell them as much as they wanted to know the friendships and relationships I truly valued and wanted to salvage. I had 3 different people, all of the same social media post. The 2 pigs embrace it along with a romantic description to go along with a picture about how amazing God is to deliver such a wonderful man into her life, and that she couldn't be happier, and that she literally hopes he is a man she'll marry someday whenever a door shuts. God opens a window. I did get a kick out of the confused comments from extended family and her far-removed friends asking who that was. Even a few of the shocked emoji Fayar maid of honor was at my divorce party and wants nothing to do with her ever again. P.S. There is one final internal struggle I'm having. Maybe someone can offer some insight back during the day, obsession period when I was scouring her digital footprints. I stumbled upon the fact that she had been sleeping with a man from her hometown while all of this was going on. The thing is, this guy is an old flame of hers, but has a wife and a kid at home. And I truly struggle with whether or not I need to find Zed in February 2019. I tried my best to go no contact, but that's easier said than done nowadays. I didn't speak to her or anything like that. But every now and then I might see a post from a distant family member of hers that I hadn't yet blocked, or a friend would unintentionally mention something they saw on a mutual friend. Snapchat, things along those lines. All of my true friends tried their best to keep these types of updates to themselves, but some news was too big to hold back the first block bouquet. If you've read this long, you have some trust in me. I felt I needed to warn you before going on. I simply could not stand the intense curiosity of the situation. I reached out to one of my ex-wife's cousin-in-laws, who I got along with pretty well, to get the rest of the story. He obliged her. New husband was someone who she had met online and had been talking to for a few months over the phone, text, etc. Apparently they both fell hard and fast for one another, and he proposed to her on a phone call. Emma came and went in 2019. But right in the middle of fall, another bombshell, while thumbing through Instagram, a video crept up on my screen of my ex-wife holding a plate in front of her father, him covering his eyes with his hands. Before I was able to realize what it was that I was looking at, I saw that on the plate had a single cookie covered with blue frosting. My ex-wife's voice came through and was counting down. 3-1. It's a boy as her father uncovered his eyes. It was a freaking gender reveal. Vid and her dumpster fire. Of a life do not cross my mind whatsoever, and I consider that progress. There still are bad days which are made exponentially worse on my computer. But those are very lonely days. I make a point to get out and walk, but I do miss the gym. I've gone home to visit my parents as much as I can, just to have some compa family off my feet. Was going to give me the best chance to focus on my life moving forward, not letting my mind get lost in the past. Honestly, going no contact with her family was extremely difficult because they were my family. Up until she chose to do what she did. I loved some of them, as I would blood relatives, and coming to terms with losing those relationships was hard and unfair, but ultimately necessary. I know this strategy is working for me and benefiting me, because as time goes on, there are anyone but myself to get the job done, and the job always gets done. But romantically, the urge to be with someone has faded drastically. I'm fine being alone, and in my brief exploration into online dating, I realized that for the most part, it's nothing but a cesspool of broken people. I came to this conclusion after 3 to 4 dates that turned out to be extremely underwhelming experiences with women who weren't really looking for something of substance, as their files would have had you believe to not be living a different version of my life, with my ex-wife still being tied to me. And I'm hopeful that if I continue putting myself first and making the most of my days, that no matter what happens, I'll be able to look back and say that I'm proud of who I am and that I made the most out of being dealt a pretty bad hand to start with. Thank you all for your time, advice, support, and words of wisdom. I wouldn't have made it without you.